You said you were drafted at the age of 18.
Yeah.
And
I may have been 19. Let me see. What year was I drafted? I was 43. I was 19.
Okay.
I was 19.
At that point, how did you feel about going to the war?
I felt like everybody in my generation felt. I know it's politically incorrect these days to feel that way about any war. But we knew it was coming. I think from my first year in high school, all of us boys knew it was coming. And, I mean, all the signs were there, what was going on in Europe. And if you were interested in history and paid attention to what was going on. And there were arguments in our history classes. I remember we had professors who'd be isolationists, we shouldn't get into the war, other ones who supported what Roosevelt was doing. And we all knew it was inevitable. We are going to be in a war. And we accepted what Roosevelt said. He said, I can't remember how he prefaced it, but he ended something about past generations by saying, this generation has a rendezvous with destiny. I would go through that hall every damn day to go to class. So I'm looking at Michelangelo's every day. On the way to school, I'm looking at great public art, sculptures and architecture and all. It was, you know, a fantastic experience. But then I get to Florence, and I'm studying Renaissance artists. They weren't single-minded. Michelangelo didn't want to paint that damn ceiling. He's a sculptor, not a painter. Look what he did once he got that commission. Then I'm reading Michelangelo's poetry and journals. They are some of the most beautiful things you can ever read. And whatever best expresses, whatever medium expresses what I feel, art is communication. Whatever medium expresses what I'm trying to communicate, that's the medium I'm going to use.
It seems to me, just to tie in some of what you've been saying, that you have pretty much had a rather clear vision about what you were doing with the help of guidance from a few people.
Yeah.
Little kid in this Italian family, and you're the only person who has this real artistic bent. Where did that come from, do you think?
I think it must have come from my mother's father.
Well, the war seems to have been a major influence in your life.
Yeah, it was. I think it is. Anybody who's soldiers, it is.
What do you carry with you today from that war experience? How did it change you?
The biggest thing I saw, because my outfit, what we saw mostly of combat was bombings, I was in anti-aircraft, and we had anti-aircraft guns as well as searchlights. So we were exposed to what bombs do to cities and also rural areas, and what they do to the people. And I think the biggest thing I carried away from the war was what wars do to civilians. I mean, we saw such horrible things of civilians being driven from their homes, and well, for instance, in England, when I was in England, and we were there after the big bombing of London, after the Blitz bombing, but we were there during the V-bombs that were coming over, and that's why we were there, to work with the V-bombs. But I had never seen people so demoralized in my life. The way war, what it does to people, the way it demoralizes them. And I thought, oh my God, if England's this bad, what is the continent going to be like when we get over there? And the continent wasn't any worse, so it demoralizes everybody, I guess. But what you'd see, I mean, you'd see refugees on the road, for instance, that were traveling with a little suitcase or a little bag. Their homes had been bombed, they had nothing left. You'd see children without arms and legs. It's unbelievable what you would see among the civilian population. And that was the worst to me. And also in Belgium, and then later in Germany, to see entire cities flattened is horrendous. And then to see what defeat does, because I was in Germany when the war ended, and to see people in defeat, I still believe defeat is worse than war.
Drew is the author of over 13 books and wrote for the Santa Fe Reporter and New Mexican. His work reflects his appreciation for the cultural and religious traditions of New Mexico.
Are your themes generally spiritual?
That happened after I moved to New Mexico.
About your St. Francis and the prairie dog. It's so sweet. and we always think of St. Francis with birds, and how did you do a prairie dog? Why the prairie dog?
I thought, I don't want him holding birds. Everybody does Francis holding birds. So I started out a figure with his hands behind his back. I thought if he's got his hands behind his back, he can't hold a bird.
How do you then maintain an optimism for life and the spirit? Is that something that's religious for you? What do you fall back on? What gets you through those times?
I enjoy life. I mean, times, it doesn't matter how hard times get and how many challenges there are. I just enjoy life. And there's so much beauty in life.
What do you think people will say about you 50 years from now, Drew? And how would you like to be remembered?
You see, I don't think... I hope I don't sound cynical, but I don't think people will be saying much of anything about me 50 years from now. I think we die and life goes on. Other people are alive and life goes on.
How would you like to be remembered?
I would like to pass something on. Like we were talking earlier about my grandfather. What he gave me, which lasted through my entire life. I would hope that he wasn't conscious of doing that. I would hope that something I've done, even if it was just a word, something will affect somebody's life positively. I don't know whether it's just Catholics, but I've heard the expression a lot in my life. We all have our cross to bear. And I think that's true. But despite the cross, there are these beautiful things.
Last year, he received the Mayor's Recognition Award for Excellence in the Arts. Drew Bacigalupa will be celebrating our Living Treasures October 26, 2008. He's a new member of our family. Those who know him well, these words: kindness, a magnificent attitude of warmth and sharing, an unassuming yet complex man. His experiences in life have forged a soul that views the human condition with empathy and deep understanding, both of our greatest capabilities and our deepest frailties. Drew has a way of tempering bone-deep world weariness with optimism and salvation.